Jerusalem, 701 BCE. The most powerful army in the ancient world surrounds the city walls. King Sennacherib's Assyrian forces have crushed every kingdom in their path, and now they've come for the last stronghold of Judah. Inside the city, King Hezekiah faces an impossible choice: surrender and watch his people become slaves, or fight and risk total annihilation. But Hezekiah has a secret plan, one so audacious, so technically impossible, that even today's engineers struggle to understand how it worked. Deep beneath Jerusalem's limestone bedrock, two teams of workers are about to attempt something that defies all logic. Armed with nothing but iron chisels and flickering oil lamps, they're racing to carve through solid rock from opposite directions. If they succeed, they'll create a lifeline that saves the city. If they fail by even a few feet, thousands will die of thirst. What Hezekiah doesn't know is that he's about to engineer one of history's greatest underground victories. A victory so ingenious that nearly 3,000 years later, modern Israel would use the same principles to build the most sophisticated tunnel defense system the world has ever seen. This is the story of two impossible tunnels, separated by millennia, that changed the course of history forever. The year is 701 BCE, and Jerusalem is running out of time. For months, Assyrian siege engines have pounded the city walls while their army cuts off every supply route. But the real threat isn't the battering rams or the archers. It's something far more deadly: water. Jerusalem's only reliable water source lies outside the city walls. The Gihon Spring bubbles up from deep underground, providing fresh water that has sustained the city for generations. But now, with enemy soldiers controlling everything beyond the walls, reaching the spring means certain death. Hezekiah stares at the problem that has destroyed every other city the Assyrians have conquered. How do you move water through solid rock? How do you dig in complete darkness? And how do you coordinate two teams working from opposite ends when there's no way to communicate? The king's engineers present their plan. They'll start digging from two locations simultaneously. One team will begin inside the city at the Pool of Siloam. The other will start at the Gihon Spring outside the walls. Somehow, these two groups have to meet perfectly in the middle, hundreds of feet underground. It sounds impossible because it is impossible. No civilization has ever attempted anything this complex. The mathematics alone would challenge modern engineers with laser levels and GPS technology. But Hezekiah's workers have neither. They have hammers, chisels, and a desperate hope that their calculations are correct. The digging begins at dawn. The first team descends into a shaft near the Pool of Siloam, their oil lamps casting dancing shadows on the rough stone walls. Each swing of their iron tools sends sparks flying in the darkness. The limestone is harder than they expected, but they press forward, one painful inch at a time. Meanwhile, the second team starts their own descent at the Gihon Spring. They're working in enemy territory, knowing that Assyrian patrols could discover them at any moment. Every sound echoes through the tunnel. Every footstep could mean death. But here's where Hezekiah's plan reveals its true genius. This isn't just about digging a tunnel. It's about understanding something that wouldn't be discovered by modern science for thousands of years. The principle of acoustic engineering. As the two teams carve deeper into the bedrock, they begin using a technique that seems almost magical. They stop digging and start listening. Placing their ears against the rock face, they strain to hear the faintest sound, the tap of a hammer, the scrape of a chisel, the voices of their fellow workers somewhere in the darkness ahead. Sound travels through solid rock faster than through air. What the ancient engineers discovered by accident, modern physics would later prove with equations. By following these acoustic signals, the two teams can actually navigate toward each other through hundreds of feet of stone. The tunnel begins to take shape, snaking through the limestone in a path that seems random, but follows a precise acoustic map. Every curve, every twist, brings them closer to an impossible meeting point deep beneath Jerusalem. The Assyrians have no idea what's happening beneath their feet. While they prepare their final assault on the city walls, Hezekiah's secret weapon grows longer with every passing day. But the real test is still coming, because even with acoustic guidance, the margin for error is impossibly small. If the two teams miss each other by just a few feet, the entire project fails. Jerusalem falls, and the kingdom of Judah disappears forever. Then it happens. After months of backbreaking labor, a worker presses his ear to the rock and hears something that makes his heart race. Voices, clear human voices just inches away on the other side of the stone. The two teams have found each other. The final breakthrough comes with a thunderous crack that echoes through both tunnels. Water from the Gihon spring begins flowing immediately, racing through the carved passage toward the pool of Siloam inside the city. Jerusalem's water supply is secure. The Assyrians can siege the walls for years, but the city will never run dry. King Sennacherib realizes his position is hopeless. Without the ability to starve Jerusalem into submission, his massive army becomes a liability. The Assyrians withdraw, and the kingdom of Judah survives. All because of a tunnel that modern engineers still call impossible. But this ancient victory was just the beginning. Fast forward to 2023. The same land faces a different, but equally deadly threat. Beneath the Gaza Strip, a network of tunnels stretches for over 400 miles. Unlike Hezekiah's single passage, this underground maze contains weapons factories, command centers, and launch sites for thousands of rockets. It's called the Gaza Metro, and it costs over $1 billion to construct. But Israel learned something from that ancient tunnel in Jerusalem. Sometimes the greatest victories happen underground. The Israel Defense Forces developed technology that would have seemed like magic to King Hezekiah. Hyperspectral sensors that can read soil density through solid earth. Geophones that detect the tiniest vibrations from tunnel construction. Acoustic arrays that map underground chambers with surgical precision. They built the most advanced tunnel detection system in human history. A 40-mile barrier that extends deep into the bedrock, studded with sensors that can identify a shovel scraping against stone from hundreds of feet away. $3.5 billion of cutting-edge engineering, all inspired by techniques first used 27 centuries ago. When the time came to clear those underground networks, Israeli special forces descended into the tunnels, just like Hezekiah's workers. But instead of oil lamps, they carried thermal imaging. Instead of iron chisels, they wielded robotic drones. The principles remained the same. Move silently through the darkness. Map every passage. Control the underground battlefield. The victory wasn't just tactical, it was psychological. For the first time in modern warfare, an army proved that no tunnel system is impenetrable. No underground fortress is permanent. The same acoustic principles that guided two teams of ancient workers toward each other now guide military units through the most complex tunnel networks ever built. From Jerusalem's limestone bedrock to Gaza's concrete bunkers, the lesson remains unchanged. The greatest engineering victories don't happen on the surface. They happen in the darkness below, where determination meets innovation and where the impossible becomes inevitable. King Hezekiah's tunnel still flows with water today, nearly 3,000 years after those first workers broke through the final wall of stone. Tourists walk through the passage, marveling at the precision of ancient engineering. But they're witnessing more than historical curiosity. They're seeing the blueprint for every underground victory that followed. Sometimes, the most ingenious designs are the ones that survive long enough to inspire the future.